שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אל. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שיר לאדוני, שיר לאדוני, שיר לאדוני. ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שמו, בסכום מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכום מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, וכל העמים לפני אוצר, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in this nigun, this song without words. It's a pretty simple melody and catchy, so please join us when you catch on. Ya Elai, ya Elai, ya Elai, la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, la, la, la. Ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, la, la, la. Ya Elai, Elai, ya la, 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 ya la, 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 ya la, 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 ya Elai, la, ya la, 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 ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, la, la, la. One more time. Ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, ya Elai, ya la, 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 ya Elai, la, la, la.
Shabbat Shalom. Usually, if I begin services with a meditation, I ask you to put your prayer book in front of you. But tonight I'm going to ask you to put your feet on the ground and put your book in your lap, your siddur, your prayer book in your lap, and your hands on your prayer book. And I'd like to share with you a meditation that really resonated with me and I hope will mean something to you too. And if you are comfortable, you may close your eyes. Siddur. Sometimes I hold my siddur against my chest, pressed to my heart like a dressing on a wound. They speak to each other in a language as sweet as love, as simple as hope, as ancient as God's Spirit, hovering over the endless deep, calling through the darkness to summon the light, to receive the soul of prayer, yearning, ever yearning, to praise and sanctify God's holy name. This prayer was written by liturgist Alden Solovey, and whether or not you feel the prayer book connects with you, I encourage you to find something in the pages that hits you differently tonight. I'm not right next to you. I don't know what page you're on, so explore. Look through the prayer book, explore on the left page, the left-hand side, which gives different interpretations of our prayers. Find something that you feel unites you with generations of Jews and with this very moment of Shabbat. We begin on page 3, if you want, with Dr. Amy Benedict lighting our Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Please join me in Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahavo v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta mikol amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. We begin with Kabbalat Shabbat, our songs welcoming us, preparing us for Shabbat, with Zamru Ladonai, part of Psalm 98, which can be found on page 16.
Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, Samru Adonai. Samru l'Adonai b'chinor. Samru l'Adonai b'chinor v'kol zimra. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, Samru l'Adonai. Samru l'Adonai b'chinor. Samru l'Adonai b'chinor v'kol zimra. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. And we turn to page 22. The third line down from the top, Tov lehodot, giving thanks to God. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, העליון, להכיר בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, להכיר בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון.
We turn back to page 20 for Lecha Dodi as we bring that Sabbath spirit into our hearts, into our community, whether you're on live stream or you're here with us in this sanctuary. We will join together in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach that 9th verse, Bo'и v'shalom, we'll rise, face the entrance to our sanctuary, beckoning that spirit towards us. And if you're at home, join with us. Stand up, or don't. We won't know. But join with us, bringing that spirit to you, and join in our voices here in the sanctuary. Page 20.
Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Shama v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmianu, el meyuchad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lecha v'nacha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikerem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Itoreri, itoreri, ki v'orech, komi ori, uri, uri, shidaberi, kvod Adonai, alayich nigla. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Bo'i v'shalom teret balagam b'simcha, u'v'tzola toch emunei am segula. Bo'i chala, bo'i chala. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi li kakala, penei Shabbat mekabela.
Turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Let them know you are glad they're here. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26 as we remain standing through Shema.
יתקרב יתקרא שמי רב אמן, ועמד יברח רתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחייך בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולמי המיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתשמע ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתעלה שמי קודשה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בהמה ואמרו אמן. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalalai, 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 yalalai,
Together on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakira kirtsono, borei yom v'laila, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid imloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. The top of page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Please join me on page 36 with the Haftarah. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot hayadecha v'hayu litotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם לקיימכם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39, we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 43, together at the bottom. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, Koreanek Shabbat.
We rise for the Amidah, which begins on page 46.
Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, svatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, svatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yalalai, lai, 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 Adonai. Yalalai, lai, lai, svatai tiftach. Yalalai, lai, lai, ufi yagid. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elokei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Eloyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Koneh Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומותיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, בחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. At the top of page 55, we read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Turn to page 57 and keep your finger there, keep the book open to that page. With the theme of my introduction of exploring within our prayer book, I'd like to share a prayer with you elsewhere from the prayer book, and then we will join together in the Chatimah, that last line in Hebrew together that is on page 57. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. Page 58. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
On some Shabbats, we have the opportunity to give an extra blessing for a milestone birthday or anniversary, and it is my honor and privilege to give a Misha Berach, a wedding anniversary blessing to the Bames, and you can stay seated. Misha Berach avotenu v'imotenu. Good, I'm glad you're holding hands. May the one who blessed our mothers and fathers before us bless this couple on their 60th anniversary of their marriage. O God, eternal source of blessing, we turn to you in thanks for the strength and devotion that have persevered and sustained Myra and Arthur and permitted them to reach this very moment. With family and loved ones here with them, we pray that this incredible, intelligent couple may look back upon the years that have passed with immense love, appreciation, and humor. We pray that you, Myra and Arthur, reflect with deep gratitude upon the years that have passed. May you recall the joys that have sweetened your lives. May you be thankful for the strength that allowed you to weather the storms that shook you to your very core. May the spark of your love continue to glow in goodness and in health, reflected in your intertwined hearts and hands, surrounded by your wonderful family and Temple Beth-El community. This community is ever aware of your dedication to Temple Beth-El. Arthur and Myra, may your desires continue to be recognized and appreciated by all who are surrounding you. As this couple has lived more than 60 years, ever dedicated to each other and to good family and friends, may they continue to gain strength, feel support from all of us who love them so much. God, you have been with this couple through all of their more than 60 years together, so may you continue to bless them with your presence in the years to come. And together we say, Amen. Mazel tov. We go from blessing to blessing as we shared in a Misha Berach, which means those who are blessed, those who are given a blessing. We also think of those who are in need of other blessings, those of health and happiness and wholeness, those who are in need of peace. We think of them and whisper their names aloud, joining those names with the ones on your order of service or on your screen. The words of Misha Berach can be found on 253.
Misha Berach Avotenu Kol HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Kol HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Please take a moment for your own silent meditations. hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
I have a secret to tell you. Sometimes the words and phrases around being a rabbi or clergy make me super uncomfortable. Let me preface this with saying I love being a rabbi, and I do feel that this is the profession I was meant to have in the world. At the same time, when people say I was called to this profession, it makes me feel weird. When people refer to me as a spiritual leader, that makes me feel intimidated. You see, I think the concept of spirituality has been shrouded in such mystery that I struggle to find or accept that I have any kind of connection to it. I know it sounds super odd coming from your rabbi standing on the bima in the middle of Shabbat services, but stick with me. I grew up thinking spiritual was synonymous with hippie, and sometimes even into the image of a psychic. The images in my head didn't conjure up connections with God. It was with a meditating person sitting maybe on a little pillow saying Om, who felt that they had lines to this supernatural, not necessarily God. As I've been in the rabbinate for over 7 years, I've discovered different ways of experiencing spirituality. Some have been more comfortable for me than others, and I'm still learning. I wonder if Joshua, the person who God appoints as the next leader for the Israelites within this Torah portion of Pinchas, felt weird about him being classified by God as an ish asher ruach, which has been translated as a man who has spirit within him, or an inspired man. In the JPS Torah commentary, there is an entire section that discusses what this term could even mean. They mention 4 different ways this phrasing could be understood. Number 1, spirit of wisdom, which is a term describing Joshua that comes later in Torah, but here, the Spirit is already within him before he is even ordained as the next leader. 2, spirit of prophecy, as a way to show how Joshua could become the next leader, as there were thoughts that Moses had the spirit of prophecy within him. However, Joshua never becomes a prophet and is more of a military leader than Moses' helper. A military leader and then Moses' helper. 3, spirit of skill. This would refer to Joshua's military skills that God gave him, just like God has given other biblical personalities skills in art or dream interpretation. It's true, but Joshua already had this military skill before he is called an ish asher ruach. Number 4, spirit is simply just an understanding that Joshua has courage, which has been proved over and over again throughout the various battles that he's been involved in. To tell you the truth, none of this seems to help me understand what it could mean that Joshua is an ish asher ruach. I guess it could be any of these, and if it's in JPS Torah commentary, it has some credence to it. But I went in search of something that would help me understand this a little bit better. The seer of Lublin, or Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Halevi Horowitz, a Hasidic rabbi who lived in Poland in the late 18th century, expressed that Joshua was chosen specifically for being an ish asher ruach, because only one who knows his or her own spirit can have the knowledge also of the spirit of others. In order for Joshua to take on this role of leader of the Israelites, he had to know himself. God recognized this and wanted it to be obvious to the Israelites by saying that he already had this ability within him. That's a pretty big difference from Moses, right? Moses didn't want to be chosen, didn't understand why he was chosen. He makes excuses that he has a speech impediment. He explains others would be better. Moses gets mad a couple of times, ruining the first tablets, hitting the rock. And please understand that I totally get why he gets mad in those situations. I'm not sure I'd be able to control myself either. Sifrei Zuta, a midrash on the book of Numbers, took it a step further in describing Joshua's nature. It said that someone who was an ish asher ruach was one who walks with the hot-headed ones and with the patient ones, each according to their opinion. Not only is Joshua endowed with knowing his own spirit, according to the seer of Lublin, but he can maintain it in the heat of a moment and can support those around him. He can be a mediator in times where that is needed, like when he saw the rest of the spies feel inadequate and he was able to calm their nerves and expose the reality of the promised land. I love these commentaries in that they show it is not about some undefinable spirit, but that it was about how calm Joshua could be, how he could be a mediator, how he knew himself and was ready to be a leader. This one about how he knew himself, this commentary from the seer of Lublin, is what really strikes me. A person possessing a spirit or who is inspired has to truly know themselves before being able to be a leader for others. Being a leader may seem glamorous, but many times it's hard. There are many different kinds of leaders and many characteristics of leaders, and yet a leader cannot be a true leader until they are comfortable in their own skin. In my mind, this will allow them to put themselves aside in order to focus on accomplishing goals and objectives that drive towards success, however that's defined. A leader is one who needs to serve as a mediator and a cool head in situations that could be contentious. A leader is one who can hear the constructive criticism and, without taking it as a personal affront, use it to better themselves. A leader is one who can comfort and not coddle, empower and not micromanage, encourage mistakes and not be quick to correct. I'm no longer completely intimidated by the word spirituality, as I recognize that it can mean so many different things. Instead, I'm inspired by the many paths spirituality can take and how it could look in different scenarios. So I ask you, what does spirituality look like for you? How does it manifest for you? Would you define yourself as spiritual? If yes, why? What makes you spiritual? If no, why not? How does spirituality come into your life? Is it being here for services? Where are you or what are you doing when spirituality comes into your life? This Shabbat, let us learn the kind of leaders we can be if we were described as Ish Asher Ruach. I went searching for myself and my rabbinate. I was inspired by Rabbi Michael Gold, a conservative rabbi from Florida. He said, "A rabbi knows tradition and can answer a question, but a true spiritual leader can see the soul of the person asking the question." Let us all try to see the souls of the people around us and find spirituality within us. May this be God's will. Ken Yehi Ratzon, Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Aleinu on page 283. Sorry, I thought you were announcing.
No, it's fine. I don't know who's. It never quite goes as well. please rise. It's okay.
Sometimes spiritual leaders make mistakes.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. Our memorial meditation can be found on page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Carol Adler, Margaret Barnes, Meyer Barnett, Carl Beer, Marion Benedict, Stanley Berman, Clara Breslau, Valerie Brown, Henry Cohen, Pearl Lee Coyne, Richard Dulcimer, Lawrence Finkel, Alec Fisher, Jack Flashberg, Seidel Gottlieb, Horace C. Hall III, Herbert Halstead, York Brom Jacobs, Leon Jacobson, Susan Jacobson, Brian David Kasser, Carlene Hammer Kaufman, Richard Kirschberg, Harry Kirstner, Tibby Callison Cox, Lester Landy, Marvin Lebman, Joshua Evan Levine, Jean Lipset, Rita Luft, Babette Marcus, Louis Matisoff, Lillian Mongeit, Stephen Palins, Ethel Penner, Ann Polunsky, Sylvan Polunsky, Donald Pomerantz, Foley Rappaport, Jacob Ricklin, Ralph Rosenbaum, Mildred Charlack Sachs, William Saxon Jr., Dr. Irving Schoenfeld, L. Taylor Seiden, Dr. Alan G. Silver, John Patrick Smith, Melvin Tectiel, Charles Way, and Ralph L. Williams. We also think of those who've been buried in the past 30 days, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. Remember Sarah Hart and Helene Ingram. We also think of one who has died this past week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Hadassah Langbaum, aunt of Guido Langbaum. With all of these names and those which are in our hearts each and every day, we turn to page 294, rising together as one community for Kaddish Yatom. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'mei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitzadar v'yitzaleh v'yitzhalal shemei dekudasha b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. And it is my honor to call forward Debbie Roos, President of our Board of Trustees, to deliver tonight's announcements.
I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'm very glad you could join us in our sanctuary or in your own sacred space. I'd like to welcome Cantor Berlin back to our bima, and I'd very much like to thank Rabbi Berlin for his musical accompaniment. Thus far, I've spoken about some of my dreams for Temple, and most recently about current events, including safety. For a bit, I'd like to be a bit more philosophical and introspective. Specifically tonight, I'd like to share some thoughts about our Temple's purpose, or at least one or two of them. A few moments ago, Rabbi Jurgen read the name of my grandfather, Henry A. Cohen, during Kaddish. He died when I was 3 or 4 years old. It's shocking to think that his name has been read at a Shabbat for 50 years, and will be, God willing, for countless more. Recently, I've thought a lot about the power of Kaddish, as 50 to 60 plus names are read each week, remembering those we've loved and lost. I'm unclear whether other faith traditions have anything similar in their rituals. Lacking data, I've chosen to believe we Jews are unique. This tradition does not make Temple Beth-El unique by any means. However, our lists are unique because they contain our ancestors, our benefactors, our loved ones, our history, which therefore makes Temple Beth-El unique. What does that have to do with Temple's purpose? Everything. Part of the synagogue's sacred purpose is to provide perpetual communal memory. Temple is here so we never forget, so our loved ones are never forgotten. Another part of Temple's purpose is to provide the space for homecoming. The theater, social engagements, and sporting events are often tabled when a loved one's name is to be read. Temple Beth-El is the chosen venue for the sacred moment in a congregant's life, even if they never venture here another time of year. Kaddish can be painful, particularly for those of us traveling the first year of mourning. But even more painful would be forgetting how we got here and lacking a beautiful community to support and comfort us. Temple Beth-El, therefore, as part of its unspoken purpose, is both an eternal historian and the magnet that brings us back to the most important things in our lives. Now for our announcements. In order to go about our normal Temple business here, masks are once again required in the building, social distancing remains in place, babysitting remains closed, and indoor food service, including our pre-Shabbat oneg, I never get that right, do I? Dang it, is discontinued for the time being. Please get your vaccines and boosters and check with your medical provider about post-infection medications like Paxlovid. These tools help make our congregation and our city safer for us all. We'll continue monitoring the situation and adjust accordingly as conditions allow for our collective well-being. All of our worship services and some of our programming events are live streamed. If you're unable to be at Temple in person, please join us online. Going to Temple means wherever our congregation is, not necessarily at 211 Belknap. Programmatically, I'd like to remind you that religious school registration is open for students in preschool through confirmation. Check out the weekly email on how to register and see what new things are happening. If you do have any questions, please contact Ellen Barshop, our Director of Congregational Learning, or Sarah Planto, Religious School Administrator. Everything going on at Temple is listed on our website calendar and in our weekly email, which arrives in your inbox around 4 p.m. every Thursday. Shabbat Shalom.
Before we move to our closing song, I want to add that religious school registration is open for pre-K all the way to post-con, so don't just stop at confirmation, keep coming. We have an awesome schedule that we are working with and curriculum. All right, page 339, hallelujah. Right, yes?
Yeah.
Please rise.
I learned the chords. Oh, and Antonio. Okay. You start, because.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol Shabbat, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol Shabbat, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom.
You told me that one didn't go as well.
That was two. Way to
I know. That one didn't go as well. It's okay. It's faster.